up to 100.
You are live.
The
quota.
This is Senate Transportation. We are going back live. It's Wednesday the 8th.
Great, thank you. I just pulled up on the screen behind me. This is the draft that we went over with my colleague, Cameron Wood, at the beginning of the month. This is the language that would basically provide that with some limitations, common interest communities could not restrict the installation of level 1 and 2 chargers within, excuse me, let me go ahead and move down here. So it would basically provide that individuals could install it within a limited common element or within their own condo or a dedicated parking space, and that a restriction or other provision that effectively prohibits or unreasonably limits the installation of level 1 or 2 chargers would be prohibited. But it does allow associations to require unit owners to comply with federal, state, and local health and safety laws and any applicable building codes and fire safety standards, comply with reasonable architectural standards, engage the services of a licensed electrician. And if the charger is installed in a common element or limited common element, reimburse the association for the actual costs of any increased insurance premium that's attributable to the charger within 14 days after receiving the notice of the association's invoice, and then provides that if you want to install one of these, if you're a unit owner, that application for approval to install it has to be processed and approved in the same manner as other modifications, and provides a timeline for approval there, and that if it's not denied in writing within 60 days, it would be deemed approved unless that delay is a result of a reasonable request for additional information, and then makes the unit owner responsible for costs of damage to the charger, to a common element or a limited common element, as well as the costs of installation, maintenance, or replacement, and any restoration work necessary if it's removed, costs of electricity, and disclosing to prospective buyers that the EVSE for the charger is there. So in other words, this would mostly be to let the prospective buyers know that there may be obligations to the condo association. So that's a quick overview of this. I believe the committee has testimony scheduled from an attorney who works with common interest communities on Friday to review this language.
Michelle, our policy director.
I don't know what on the record.
Transportation. 219 North Main Street.
You gotta play that every time. You go on the record. I don't know how I did that.
I stopped.
I don't know what happened.
You sent the draft to the chair of economic development, who had spent some time on this, Andy.
Economic development did spend time on this.
They did.
But overall, they also dealt with a whole bunch of other issues with condos. It wasn't just about EVs, and then they moved the whole thing to.
But has she seen this draft?
I don't
This
know.
lawyer,
if he
no,
has.
I don't know.
Cameron has seen it though.
Cameron drafted the original bill and he prepared this draft, which is very close to the original bill with a few tweaks.
Refresh.
When you.
But I'm
What you said, finally.
happy to send the draft to Senator Clarkson and copy Cameron and let her know that this committee is considering it.
Feel much
Well,
better.
you're talking about Senator Clarkson. I thought you were talking about the lawyer that.
No, the lawyer's coming Friday.
She's telephone. That's what, I thought you were.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson is who I was
Ah,
asking.
no, I told Senator Clarkson, but I don't think she's actually seen the language, but I had.
Yeah, I'm happy to chat with her too. I've mentioned a few times that we were taking.
Can you, Damien, make sure she gets the language? I don't wanna get to the floor and somebody say, you surprised me.
I can help with that. But did the lawyer, the condo lawyer we've been waiting?
It's
to hear
coming
from?
Friday.
Oh. Great. I'm fully supportive of this language as drafted. I think it makes sense. I think it's a thoughtful approach. I would vote yes for it.
Can I see a show of hands? Yeah. So we'll put this in the draft. How many pages are we?
Let's see, with this will put us up to about 69 pages, 70 pages.
Oh.
We're getting there. If you add an MBUF, that will put us up to close to 90
Okay.
without adding anything else. And then if you add more,
Oh, we're gonna have more. Don't you worry.
I mean, if we continue at this rate, I think I should, start having a bet with my wife to see whether her next book or my T-bill is going to be longer. So, I mean, we're getting there.
It's quality.
200 pages.
Yeah,
I would say her writing is higher quality than mine.
at this point, I would say our T.
Yes. Yes. It is mine only in the fact that I typed it.
Well,
All of you chose the language.
let's see.
So are we gonna hear what's our next step for the day? I mean, I've brought up a few times the desire to have some of the language that I've sent to the committee reviewed, especially around EVSE. You've all gotten it in your email. It was drafted by Damien. Are we gonna talk about that?
We are,
Right.
You're talking about the language that Anthony,
Yes. And then Phil Pouch.
he's been asked to come on Monday.
Okay. We can go over the language before he gets here.
That would be great. Why don't you, as long as you've got that language, you want to run through that language?
Sure, I'll pull up.
I can go ahead and pull that up on the screen.
And
Megan, do you have that language?
I
think,
I may have included ESC info and legal overview language.
Yep.
I will post that right now.
Okay.
I'm happy to tee up. So this is language
Yep.
that is hoping to support the adoption of electric vehicles by making it easier to have electric vehicle supply equipment be accessible to the average user. It has some requirements around credit card access at EV chargers. It also has some requirements around data being provided to us by EV charging companies like ChargePoint, for example. That's why I included in my witnesses like PlugShare America, because they look at the full spectrum of folks. So this bill is not necessarily, I would say, a major change to government function, but ideally regulating electric vehicle supply equipment in a way that makes the average person more likely to feel good at their EV site, and also give the state more information about how much fuel are people purchasing and stuff
Just
like that.
include the component of mapping,
Mapping the EVSE.
the charging stations around and better information.
Like they send
Yeah.
data.
Yeah, I can walk you through that. It
Yeah.
does specifically include GPS data so that you can locate the charging station.
Yep.
So,
I think that the GPS is mapping.
yes.
This
Yes. So,
It should, she may have just, Megan may have been so fast at putting it on.
Is it also under Damien?
It is just refresh. I literally just
Yeah.
clicked upload.
so I pulled the language up on the screen for you as well.
No, this last
That's
one's
common interest.
it's a common condos.
Yeah, so
Isn't it all?
Oh, there we go, now it's there.
Kind of
Yeah.
their way.
Yeah. This language comes out of, so the initial sort of background for this language, came from some studies and, work that was done by a couple of think tanks, on how to, boost, the ease of owning an EV without providing, for example, monetary incentives or something like that. And so or at least this first section. So what it would look at is, so there are a number of definitions in here. Charging network provider is, this would be like your charge point or your Blink, Flow, Electrify America. They are providers who operate a network of charging stations, although they may delegate to or contract with other folks to actually have the stations and maintain them. And then charging stations are defined in this as EV chargers that are available to the public or a group of EV chargers that are available to the public. So this could be a standalone charging station or charger, or it could be a bank of chargers like we have on Aiken Ave. Charging station operator, if you think of the chargers on Aiken Ave, the charging network provider is ChargePoint. The charging station would be the bank of chargers, and then the charging station operator would be the State of Vermont Buildings and General Services Department.
Maybe for like a private business, it would be like the private business is the charging
Right.
station operator.
If you think of, there's a charger by the Red Hen Baking in Middlesex.
Yep.
So I think that's on the ChargePoint network, but the charging station operator is Red Hen or possibly Camp Mead. I don't know which, one of them.
Soon to be a new cafe.
Yes, I heard Woodbelly.
Hi.
So connector, when we address that, that is the actual device that attaches the charger to your EV. There are 3 common ones in use in the United States, although that's likely to narrow in coming years.
Yeah.
DC fast charger, this is a level 3 charger. Some of these, I just skipped over some existing definitions. Level 2 EV supply equipment is 208 to 240 volt AC, up to 80 amps. So this can charge between like 3 and 11 kilowatts versus a DC fast charger, which is between 50 and 400. And then NEVI standards, I think everyone in the committee is familiar with the NEVI program. It had specific standards about connection to the internet and so forth. And then finally, port. So this is different from a connector. Is the port could actually have multiple connectors on it. So there are some chargers, if you pull up to them, each port will have, for example, there's the SAE connector, and then there's what's commonly called the Tesla connector, or
CHAdeMO.
No, CHAdeMO is the Japanese standard, which was on the Leaf.
Oh.
And it is being phased out.
Oh, so that's.
But yeah, the NACS connector, North American Connector Standard, I believe. And that's commonly called the Tesla connector because Tesla was the first company to use it. More companies are switching over to that now. It's likely to become the predominant connector in the coming years. But a port could have multiple connectors. So you can pull up in any EV and connect to it. But only one EV can connect on that side at once.
So a port is what is necessary for one car.
Right. A port is where a single car can charge a port,
Right.
but that port may have multiple connectors.
Right,
So
well,
they could be
and
different makes and models.
You could have multiple ports on one machine.
Right. Single charger can have multiple ports. Right. So
No,
Yeah.
there are machines that have 2 ports.
yes, so a single charger could have 2 or 4 ports, 1, 2, or 4 ports, is what I've seen. So there are some where essentially you can park at each corner
Yeah,
and there's a different port for charging cars there.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we're talking about the same
right,
thing.
right. Well, and
See,
the
but good to
port,
define.
well, the port one is important because that's, to me, that's the capacity. And,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the amount of cars that can charge at one time.
Right. So then when you multiply the ports by the number of chargers at the charging station, then you figure out how many slots there are available at the charging station.
Yes.
So that brings us, segues nicely into the second section here, which would add a new section that would require charging network providers or charging station operators to make available to third-party software developers free of charge data necessary to provide real-time information on availability, power delivery rating, and pricing of each charging station. So this is the charger in use or not in use? Or is it currently out of service?
Which honestly, I just want to say as an EV driver, that is the most frustrating part of being an EV driver is looking, seeing that a charger is there, getting there and seeing that someone hit it with their car and it's out of use. And so the information that this would provide to an EV driver is the difference between stopping or not stopping at a charger is my understanding. So I know.
I agree. I mean, I have a hybrid and I tried to use a lot of local charging stations and sometimes they weren't working. Sometimes I had to do an app. So it really made me really want a charger at my house. But this is often online, but
Yes.
it's not accurate.
And it's not required that it be online. So they could say at any point, we actually don't need to tell you if it's in use or not in use.
Right.
Or if it's broken.
But they don't keep it. Yeah, they don't.
So the next part would direct the Secretary of Transportation to adopt rules to implement the provisions, and the rules would specifically address the types of data that would be provided, including data related to availability, power delivery rating, and pricing. So power delivery rating basically tells you, so for, like I said, with DC fast chargers, that 50 to 400 kilowatts, knowing that delivery rating can tell you there's a 8 times difference in how fast you can charge your vehicle, depending on whether it's 50 and 400 kilowatts. It also depends on your vehicle. Some older vehicles can only take a 50 kilowatt charger and they'll throttle down a faster charger. But newer vehicles like the Hyundai Ioniqs and the Teslas and the Rivians, most of those can take 200 to 400 kilowatt chargers, so they can charge quite quickly. The next provision here is the rules would have to include provisions to ensure the data provided is accurate and reflects real-time conditions, and it would have to include a definition of availability and real-time. So for example, it's likely to be difficult to have up to the second data, but maybe, it's the requirement would be that it checks in every 5 or 10 minutes so that you have at least close to real time. And then finally, this gets to the question of mapping. Requirements that the data provider include geographic information sufficient to support third-party mapping software. So this is where, whether it's Google Maps or PlugShare or a Better Route Planner or a proprietary mapping software from the vehicle manufacturer, could then take that data and you could say, find a charger, and it would direct you to the charger and be able to give you directions. And then finally, data requirement that the data format comply with industry best practices and standards, including NEVI standards or other equivalent standards. That makes it standardized, so you're not having different data. NEVI, so for the NEVI chargers, those had requirements in there to receive the grant funding. And so this would make additional chargers comply with that.
Does that include privacy?
As to who's using it,
Yeah, the customer,
I,
for protecting the. Customer.
so this is, that would be more with your vehicle manufacturer and, or your agreement with the charging station operator.
Right, but
Like-
that could be, I didn't know if that was included in the.
I don't know if the NEVI standards include that. I think it's more about, it doesn't tell you who's charging. It tells you if the charger's available or not.
Right, but they'll know who's charging. The operators will know,
They will,
right?
yes. Or at least, yeah, they'll have either a credit card number or your app account or something like that.
Yeah,
But I think a lot of that data is governed by your user agreement, and that I'm not sure that this gets to that or that the NEVI standards do.
I was hoping this would allow you to charge without an agreement, without using an app.
So, in many places you can, yeah,
Right, well, they know a lot from your credit card, but you could do, it's better than an app.
so under
We can,
Under current Vermont law, charging stations are already required to take multiple forms of payment. It's not clear the extent to which,
Under law.
under law, Title 30, it already provides that publicly available charging stations should take multiple forms of payment. I don't know that that law has any enforcement mechanism or that it is enforced, and that would get into the next section of this bill. Which we'll talk about in just a second. The last piece is provisions permitting charging station operators to attach reasonable conditions to data use to protect confidential business information, provided that they do not prevent third-party software operators from accessing the information. So
So I have a question on that section.
so I think the question is whether there are privacy standards. And I can look into that.
yeah, so the charging stations.
Yeah.
have Privacy, that's,
So. So will the information from the individual and their usage be available?
I would prefer that the person's, the customer who's getting charged, whose car is getting charged, that their data is not sold.
Me too.
Yeah, that's what I would.
Yeah, and I will also check in with Rick Sagel in our office, who covers
Yeah,
privacy protections, to see if there's something else, because this is typically covered in, I know in the House it's Commerce and Economic Development. I don't know if it's Economic Development here as well,
it is, and institutions.
and institutions. So I'll touch base with them to see if this is covered by another law as well, because that you may already have laws covering that without making something
If you want to
specific
bet,
to EV chargers.
or we may have standard language that we want to put in. And is Tesla, would Tesla be required to do this? Because they kind of
So, yeah, this would apply to all charging station operators in Vermont.
Do they
Well, some are
sell the
public and some-
information, and they sell the information now?
The user data,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's part of why I'm saying I need to check in with Rick regarding what the existing.
has your committee got time to take a look?
I would love to, there's actually a huge issue with automobiles. As they're made now, and anything with Bluetooth can listen, basically. And the automobile sellers don't seem to be aware of that, or at least the ones that I've talked to recently. And I would love to just, like, maybe an hour, I have some information.
Yeah,
we could-
I think that might be separate from this.
Yeah, no, it is separate
No,
from this, but it's a
but-
huge issue.
Yeah, so, yeah, we have language, I mean, I feel.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay,
would,
happy to,
I'd be happy if you did a drive-by
great.
and, you know, it's not the main focus of this bill.
No.
I you don't want, but I don't like my data schools.
Yeah.
My question on that section is, do we need a rule? Could this just be done by? It's not a
So,
guidelines, by the censorship.
so rules have the force and effect of law. Guidelines are guidelines for complying with the statute. They don't necessarily carry the same force as rules do. That said,
Doesn't the statute carry the equal? as the-
it does. So it does become a bit of a question of whether you want to all right, hold on. I lost my document there. Sorry, there we go. Yeah, so
Or you're saying.
yeah, the language says the secretary shall adopt the rules to implement the provisions of this section. You may want the
You're saying order.
Well, I just know rules
I mean, you
are
can-
our work. It's a kind of
Right.
new area. We're writing it in statute. We
one,
want to like kind of give it some more time to play out before we make the rule, because then once you have a rule, you can't change anything unless it goes to the rule changing.
yes, and the APA process is time consuming and labor intensive for the agencies. In an ideal world, it's a 6 to 8 month process, but realistically, it's often more than a year. So you could change this to guidelines, guidance. I think in this case, it would be guidance for complying with the provisions of this section. Some of the things you may need to address, though, is be more clear about what real-time data is and what you mean by availability. Otherwise, I think the language is probably enough here to establish basic guidance. It's likely something that you may want to look at experience going forward.
So I thought it might be better to
see
say, have AOT do it as guidance and then come back and learn and see if there's some real
Right.
controversy. I think rules are
What-
helpful when there's controversy, but I don't know if there's any.
One of the options too is to say the secretary may adopt rules as the secretary deems necessary to carry out the provisions of this section. And the secretary shall adopt guidance for, on how to comply with this section. And the guidance is not something that has to go through the extensive public comment and filing process that rules do. Another thing to consider is whether you would want a delayed effective date to allow the guidance to be put in place in advance of the law taking effect, and also whether you want this to apply to only newly installed EV chargers or to all existing EV chargers, because there may be a cost associated with replacing an older unit or upgrading an older unit so that it can comply with this.
Yeah, I would just say I'm open to if it feels like guidance versus rulemaking is more the direction the committee wants to go. Like, I'm just really wanting to get something positive done. So I'm really open to the conversation there. The reason I understand that Phil Couch and others had it as rules is because, to the comment that Damien made before, there really is no enforcement of this. So it feels like why would guidance change anything? And I feel like maybe rule perhaps could.
There could have no enforcement regardless.
Very true, but yeah, exactly. That's the bottom line. Like it probably could be 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and whether or not the agency is comfortable moving forward with a rulemaking process based on the other tasks that have been assigned to them, I'm happy with changing that. I think the only thing that feels concerning to me around the all existing versus future. Yes, I think obviously I want it for everyone in the future. That seems like a reasonable thing. And I can see how there is cost to all existing, but it seems like every time I go to a charging station, there's a new charging operator. Like EVgo got bought out by so and so, and then now there's a new person and I'm using the wrong definition in the bill, but
That's okay.
it's the charge point network provider has changed. So I guess my only thought would be, in addition to any new ones, it would be anytime there is a charging network provider change, that they be required to update. Because that's the problem, is if I go to an EV charger where I had EVgo and then it switched over to Flow and I have to download a new app, if they just had a card tap instead, when they did their changeover, it wouldn't be a nightmare scenario, like to get Wi-Fi and to get all of that. So I guess that if we were gonna go down that direction, I would also like to include charging network provider when they change to require it. If we don't want to go the full load every charging station everywhere. Is that possible?
I have another different question, if that's okay. So they all need to be permitted, right? They all need to get a permit? No?
Yeah, what purpose?
Well, with electrical, I mean,
So that
I would
gets to the next section.
okay, I'm just thinking about the places where we could
Yeah.
have an impact.
Yeah. So the next section talks to the issue of what are the current laws and regulations, and it is a bit confusing. There you have a number of different things that apply. So Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets does weights and measures. So they make sure that public chargers, if they say they're giving you a kilowatt, are actually giving you a kilowatt of electricity. They also check to make sure pricing information is available on the charger. So when you go up to a charger, you should actually see the little weights and measures sticker somewhere on the charger. The electrical code would apply to the installation of these chargers. There's a whole section of the National Fire Protection and National Electrical Codes that apply to EV chargers to make sure they're safe.
You don't need a permit. I don't.
If you're installing it at a public building,
Yes.
you certainly would need a permit. So it's going to depend on the installation.
Most of these are not on a public.
Right, if they're freestanding, they should be installed to code. But it can differ, and then if it's, for the ones installed at your single family home, those don't require a permit, but likely they should be installed by an electrician.
Right, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, but they're not covered in this. The other piece is, so early on, the language relating to chargers was put into Title 30 under the Public Utility Commission and the Public Service Department. Since then, we've started adding language under Title 19. It's not clear to me if there may be other provisions in the statute that predate my time working on transportation that I'm not aware of. So what this section would do is it would direct the Secretary of Transportation in consultation with Secretary of Agriculture, Public Utility Commission, and the Commissioners of Public Service and of Taxes to submit a written report to the House and Senate Committees on Transportation regarding the current laws and regulations governing the installation and operation of electrical vehicles, supply equipment, including chargers at your house, like a level 2 charger installed at a home or residence. It would look at, for chargers available to the public, requirements related to parking, requirements.
Does that mean like any place that has a parking related fee, they'd have to go find it and So these are,
These are the
state
requirements, not, so this isn't asking them to determine what the fee is if you go to
State
Doe
requirement.
Performing Arts versus if you go to,
but they would have to find it, or is it just
there, this is what are the state requirements.
city?
So, yeah,
But-
Legal requirements.
legal requirements,
Just
not,
no.
I don't,
Yeah, they find out.
I'm not aware of any.
I also, on this section, wondered analysis is the right word. I was thinking.
I'm happy to be wordsmithed.
Okay, then just like. We just kind of want to know what they all are more than an analysis of them. At least in my mind.
Sure.
Yeah, well, so it's interesting that the agriculture folks, so they have to go in and actually physically do something and put a sticker on it for it to be
That's
legal.
my understanding is that weights and measures, just
So-
like at the gas station
Okay,
for
so-
every gas pump.
So we know where they are then. I mean, they should be keeping a list.
Well, you know where the public ones are.
Yeah.
They don't do this for your home.
No, I'm not talking about the home ones, but
Yeah.
no, well, the home ones,
And then
the utility company knows. Cause you,
most likely, although if you don't
That's true.
have an agreement with your utility company, it's, as far as they're concerned, it's just a 200. It's, you know,
Well-
a 60 amp circuit. that
yeah, but
has-
I'm not that worried about that because
Yeah,
that's not a public.
right.
Situation, but there's a ton of public, like we have now 4 different. Like there's Tesla one, Rivian, and then there's 2 others, banks of chargers. So somewhere agriculture would have a list of those, I would hope.
I think they're doing that now. I know I got a call from Weights and Measures, one of the men working at it when I worked at since I'm at Suncom.
Oh,
Because they were trying to get information about it. So I don't know when the report, there was something due from Weights and Measures to us at some point. I don't
I
know
would have
that
to look.
report, but it's like, how much are you is the fluid ounce of oil
No,
that you're getting
I-
actually a fluid ounce?
No,
of oil
I
is what
understand.
they're proving.
and I'm glad that they're doing that. So this is good.
Yeah, so they're definitely working out. They at least called us.
Well, and they should be keeping a list.
So there's 2 components of information about this, one about where we want statutes and laws to go in the future. Then there's data information piece, and then there's an availability piece.
So
And am I missing, what's the other umbrella?
the other key takeaway from the study is it goes down through a long list of various requirements related to data and everything else. But the other key takeaway is it asks them to determine if there are any legal or regulatory barriers that might prevent increased availability of chargers, identify gaps in the laws and rules, and identify any instances in which Vermont's existing laws and rules overlap or conflict with each other.
Yeah, well, that's under the laws in that piece, and they make a recommendation in a study.
Yep.
The piece that I've got, is it the Secretary of Transportation that's back in the thing, the data and the information that's supposed to come up with the report on that? And
Yep.
my question is that the best place for that to be?
I don't know.
Is
yeah.
who deals with data at the state level?
Are you thinking of the stuff that's on page 5, or are you going back to closer to the first section around?
Back more, back up
You're-
the bill.
This study is.
This is
We have the I have
this
no
is,
problems with the availability stuff.
you're looking at page 4. So you're saying that starting point with B is the secretary of, because that's the secretary of transportation.
Yeah.
Is that the right place?
Shall adopt rules to implement the provisions of this section. Rules shall requirement for the type of data to be provided.
Right. That's what I'm
Provision
saying.
and ensuring the data provided pursuant to this section is accurate and reflecting. Yeah, you know, all the stuff that, particularly the stuff that deals with information for the individual. But who's the best place to weigh in on that? And is it the Secretary of Transportation?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that.
I don't think it should be ruled.
That language came out of the original version of that section, which was put forward in the House by Representative Pouch last year.
Yeah.
And so that was a preference that came out of that drafting process.
Which I'm happy to, like, if this is a sticking point, I do think it makes sense for the Secretary of Transportation to be the one holding this. Like
Yeah.
just jurisdictionally, but if folks are like, whoa, the rules, no, or preference on guidance, like that, I have no real
I
strong feelings on, but I'm happy
I
to.
love the availability pieces. I absolutely think somebody ought to look at the data pieces and what gets shared and what doesn't and all of that. I'm just not convinced that the Secretary of Transportation and the secretaries, they have that information, they know what all the issues are there. Is that the best place for that?
Yeah, well, I think they're gonna tell you they don't have the time to do this. I think that's the first thing. So I can understand that, but I don't. The three folks who are named in the later study, which is not the part that you're talking about.
No, that's not the,
Those folks, that's a different conversation. But for this one, I think would not make sense for any, I mean, maybe natural resources could look at it, but it's not asking them to do anything besides make sure that EVSE charging owners are meeting these guidances. So if at the very least, it needs to be done somewhere.
I'm not saying,
We don't have
but
time.
I'm saying about data usage and all of that stuff. Go ahead.
Michelle Boomhauer for my Agency of Transportation. I think just to sort of frame this at a high level, the Agency of Transportation has been involved with EV charging because we did receive federal monies to deploy EV charging. So that's like a project construction framework. And we have done a lot of money funneling to Drive Electric Vermont and coordination with other parts of state government on a variety of other elements, many of which are noted in here. We are, while we do a lot of data things, we don't have the data on where all the charging stations are. Drive Electric Vermont may have that. And we're not in a position.
Go ahead.
We have our own, obviously, but not everybody else's necessarily. We do provide you with the map every year, and that comes from Drive Electric Vermont. But beyond, I think there's an ongoing construct here that maybe this language can hope to focus in on, which is all of the things listed in the later section of the bill are functions that pertain to all of the other agencies that you've listed here, but they don't pertain to AOT. We don't have the expertise or the technical expertise nor the funding to do any of these activities. I think the other party that's not included here would be the fire safety folks. But I think if you want to get into the rules and these requirements that are listed, you might want to identify a different party frankly for both sections of this bill.
For the section related to public EVSE stuff and the section related to charging laws, you'd want to be taken off of.
Yep.
I don't think it needs to be a rule, so I think it could be guidance where guidance is needed to clarify the statute. And in my view, AOP may not be the perfect, but I don't know where a better one is for talking about the rules for chargers. As that is
I think agriculture maybe.
Well, whether, yeah, I mean, if they just do weights and measures, they don't deal with these other things, you know, at least AOT has installed chargers and worked in a space where weights and measures is just like, is it a kilowatt hour or not? And is the sign there? So if there's clarification needed of the statute, I don't know if there's a better place than AOT, but I don't see it being that difficult. That if it's a rule, then it is difficult, but if it's like, we're gonna clarify any of these things. But the report, I agree that you would require all these entities, and I don't know who the commissioners of public service are. I think that's a misprint there, but like if it's an analysis of all these things, yeah, if it means just Department of Public Service. I think the old reading through here, like it says, the requirements to sign it. We don't have any requirements for requirements for parking. There isn't any requirements for parking. I'm not sure what the goal of this falls. This is a comprehensive study, so I could see why AOT wouldn't want to do all this stuff. I think the only question I have is around taxes,
Just wondering about that.
which is in here.
This question came up, with the, so that the question about applicable taxes came up because, the House members who had worked on an earlier version of this, this report, had noted that on some chargers, they have
Sales tax, yeah.
they're charged sales tax, and then others they're not, and they were not clear on why certain chargers charge tax and others don't.
And the utilities charge tax on homeowners on their electric use, but I'm not sure if they're charging the charging station.
And then, yeah, there's,
I think most charging stations charge the sales tax.
right, so
I think they're
there's,
supposed to.
And I certainly don't want to get into that interview, but we all know where the sales tax goes.
Yeah, I mean, they should be fucking.
I don't want to get.
Another.
I don't want to
Well,
get to it.
But I don't-
Yeah, but at some point, we
But I don't think we have, like, the purpose of this report, I guess, so I can, and I'm happy to any changes and like, since, you know, I don't hold anything as like the most important thing, but the reason that I liked seeing this was I don't know the answer to that question. Do we have parking signage requirements?
No.
We don't.
We at the state,
Yeah, I don't know that.
but towns.
I thought we did.
but
I thought we did actually have parking requirements. I thought we had, like, you had to properly label it and also have like something around handicapping. If it was a handicap spot or, but I don't know. I guess my.
for all parking, or you mean parking around?
Around EVs, I thought we did have requirements around, you had to label it, but maybe. But I guess that's the thing is, I don't know the answer to that, and I would like to know the answer to that, and if there's not a report that's requiring it, I would like help finding the answers to that in another way.
Yeah.
So I guess that's really, like, every single one of the things that's listed, I don't feel like I know. So maybe it's just because we're not getting information about it, because we're not hearing from witnesses who are relevant
Well, and
effective, but.
I think getting this report is a one-time report to me, just to frame everything and let us have all the information that we need going on.
We're gonna be back to this. We've got testimony scheduled for Monday on this.
Okay.
So what are we meeting with it? I need to know.
What?
When are we meeting on Monday? This one,
1:30,
What time?
the third one,
1:30,
1:30?
1:30,
Okay.
and,
1:30 to 2:30.
what, 2:30 in the morning? Can you take a hike, David? And we put
Wait, it's
Logan.
12.
What?
I have a scheduled meeting at 12. I thought we were done at 12.
He's gonna sit in the chair. He's just gonna show you the chart he's putting together it's just the start of a chart to show where everything is. And
Okay.
so you can take a look at it and say, what would you add to this chart? So, and it's kind of a tracking document of what
Do you
everybody's
have the
done.
Zoom link?
And, but he's
Yeah,
not
maybe.
done this, so. It's just gonna be put it up and
Oh, okay.
he's out of the chair.
I will hold my meeting at 12.
Right, I don't know.
As quick as possible.
We should be out of
We do
here in
appreciate
2
it.
to 3 minutes.
Wow.
Just show them what you're doing and what we need to add.
So while I wait for the link, for the record, Logan Barrera with Joint Fiscal Office, as the chair mentioned. There's been some requests to sort of put in one place for all these language pieces and the things that the governor recommended, and then the things that House Transportation did, and then the things that actually passed out of the House, and try to see them all in one place. So I'm working on a document, and I will expand that based on discussion today. Just so that you can all sort of
Yeah,
see how
you
that is laid
should,
out. And I will put it up here. I'm joining now.
we should all get a copy and
Yeah.
you'll just wanna add if there's other lines.
So yes, I will send this to Megan after I'm done showing it here, and you all can sort of look at it. Okay, let's go through this real quick. Choose it here.
Okay.
So this is what it is so far. On the left-hand side, well, that would get out of the way. It says appropriations, then there's transfers, purchase and use language, pilot fund language, stuff with MBUF. I haven't done this one because there's a lot, and thinking has to think a better document, and then other miscellaneous stuff. So this will eventually track sort of what came out from the governor's version, where the language currently is, what the House did, where that language is located, what passed out of the House,
And then we're gonna have
and then we can have more for what you all are.
our line in there. And if they can get that, if there's other things that you want added.
I can't see it, so I'm sorry.
I can try to.
That's the general idea.
The,
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
the point
Yeah.
is that if there are other things you want added into this, tomorrow when we get back, you should let us know.
Okay, the only division I would suggest is, and I think you're kind of doing it with the yellow.
Yeah.
But what is like the House Transportation versus House Ways and Means?
Yeah.
To have
That's
the-
He has that.
That's the cup.
House
As passed.
transportation is the blue, and then the yellow will be where it differs from the previous versions, right? We
Yes.
start with the GovRec, then House Transportation has their version. Where it differs is highlighted in yellow,
Okay,
and then what was passed by the House, which is
It's-
came out of Ways and Means, is the last slide and where it changes. And I will go through all this more and more detail.
and then we'll have the Senate option at the
And then
end.
I'll list some of the options that you'll have been.
Just so you can have, this is
And
the
we're-
tracking document.
Yay, Logan.
That's great.
We
We
need
can
to get
sell
that
that.
to the
And-
public, right?
and-
People don't know.
So
about it.
the committee should get copies of that and if you want stuff added, we'll get it added. And now you can go to lunch.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
We
great.
can
Thank you.
Offline.
That'll be